Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and I'm here with Sam. Today we're diving into something that's reshaping how enterprises actually do work. Agentic AI systems, and specifically how organizations, especially in Europe, are building them in ways that don't land them in regulatory hot water. Sam, when we talk about Enterprise Agentic AI Development, what are we really talking about here?
Great question. So we're moving away from the era of chatbots that just answer questions when you ask them. Agentic AI is fundamentally different. These are autonomous systems that can actually execute multi-step workflows, make decisions, integrate with your business systems, and do it all with minimal human babysitting. Think of it less as a tool you talk to and more as a digital worker that operates on your behalf.
That's a really helpful framing. And I think a lot of enterprises are realizing this is the direction things are heading. What does the data tell us about adoption?
The numbers are striking. Gartner's 2025 survey shows 73% of enterprises are planning to deploy autonomous AI agents by 2026. And if you look at investment allocation, 51% of enterprise AI budgets now target agentic capabilities. That's up from just 18% 3 years ago. So this isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening at scale.
Wow, that acceleration is real. But with that kind of shift comes complexity, right? I imagine orchestrating multiple autonomous agents is not straightforward.
Exactly. And here's the thing. The success of agentic systems doesn't hinge on how smart a single agent is. It comes down to orchestration reliability. You can have brilliant individual agents, but if they can't coordinate, hand off work cleanly, or recover from failures, the whole system breaks down. A failure in one agent cascades across your entire workflow.
That's a critical insight. And now layer on top of that the regulatory environment, especially in Europe. The EU AI Act is in the picture here, and that changes the game considerably.
Right. The EU AI Act classifies autonomous decision-makers, and that includes agentic AI systems, as high risk. That means you need to document how agents make decisions, maintain transparency, implement continuous monitoring, and prove you have human oversight. Industries like HR, finance, and anything safety-critical are particularly scrutinized.
So compliance isn't something you bolt on at the end. It sounds like it needs to be baked into your architecture from day one.
Absolutely. The enterprises I see succeeding are treating compliance as a competitive advantage, not a burden. Yes, they invest more upfront, but they deploy faster because they're not retrofitting governance later. They face lower legal risk, and they build stakeholder trust. It's actually cheaper long-term.
That makes sense. Now, when we talk about multi-agent systems, there are different ways to architect them. Walk us through the main patterns organizations are using.
There are 3 dominant patterns. First, hierarchical orchestration. You have a master agent that delegates tasks to specialized sub-agents, collects their results, and makes the final call. It's clean for sequential workflows with clear dependencies. Second, graph-based workflows. Agents are nodes. Tasks flow along edges based on outcomes. This enables parallel execution and dynamic routing, great for complex, real-time scenarios.
And the third?
Publish-subscribe networks. Agents emit events, other agents subscribe and react asynchronously. It's loosely coupled and scales really well, but you need bulletproof observability because it gets hard to track what's happening across the system. Each pattern has trade-offs.
That's helpful context. Now let's ground this in a real use case. You mentioned procurement earlier. Walk me through how multi-agent orchestration would actually work there.
Sure. A procurement workflow isn't one decision, it's multiple steps. You need an agent searching for suppliers, another analyzing contracts, a third checking compliance regulations, and a fourth routing the decision to the right approvers. With hierarchical orchestration, a master agent would sequence those: supplier search first, then contract analysis, then compliance check, then routing. Each agent is specialized, reliable, and the master has full visibility.
And if one of those agents fails or returns bad data?
That's where orchestration frameworks come in. They handle retries, fallbacks, and graceful degradation. If the contract analysis agent gets stuck, the system can escalate to a human or try an alternative path. You're building resilience into the workflow, not hoping it doesn't break.
So enterprises that implement these frameworks properly, what's the actual benefit?
Microsoft's research on orchestration frameworks shows enterprises reduce deployment time by 42% and operational costs by 38% compared to custom, one-off integrations. That's not marginal. And for Den Haag enterprises in logistics, finance, or public administration, that speed directly translates to competitive advantage.
That's substantial. Now, I want to dig into something you touched on earlier, observability. In a multi-agent system with potentially dozens of autonomous agents operating in parallel, how do you actually maintain visibility?
That's one of the hardest problems in agentic systems. You need structured logging at every agent handoff. What was the input? What was the decision? What data influenced it? Who, if anyone, needs to approve? You're essentially building an audit trail for every decision the system makes. With EU AI Act compliance, that's non-negotiable anyway.
And that feeds into your governance model, your center of excellence, if you've established one?
Exactly. An AI center of excellence is where you centralize agent development, testing, compliance review, and deployment standards. You're preventing chaos, where every team builds agents in different ways. You establish guardrails, shared libraries, monitoring dashboards. It's operational maturity.
For organizations just starting out with Agentic AI, that sounds like a significant investment. What's the minimum viable approach?
Start with one well-scoped workflow. Don't try to automate everything at once. Pick something with clear dependencies, measurable outcomes, and moderate complexity. Build a hierarchical orchestration pattern first. It's the easiest to understand and debug. Implement logging and monitoring from day one, and absolutely involve your legal and compliance teams early. That's the foundation.
That's practical advice. And I imagine the first deployment teaches you a lot about what to do differently the second time.
Hugely. Your first agentic system is almost a proof of concept. You'll learn where your monitoring gaps are, where agents fail unexpectedly, how humans need to override the system. That knowledge is invaluable for scaling, and if you've built compliance in from the start, you're not rewriting everything when you move to your second or third agent system.
So the investment in compliance and governance isn't slowing you down, it's actually accelerating your long-term velocity.
Precisely. The enterprises that view agentic AI as a long-term capability, not a one-off project, are the ones that win. They invest in architecture, governance, and orchestration frameworks. It costs more upfront but pays enormous dividends.
All right, let me ask one final question. What does production-ready actually mean in the context of agentic AI? How do you know your system is ready to go live?
Production readiness is multidimensional. Your agents need to handle failures gracefully, not crash, not loop infinitely. You need comprehensive monitoring and alerting so you know when something goes wrong. You need audit trails and documentation for compliance. You need defined escalation paths so humans can intervene if needed. And you need to have tested the system under realistic load and edge cases. It's more rigorous than traditional software deployment.
That's a high bar, but it sounds necessary given what's at stake.
Absolutely. You're asking autonomous systems to make decisions on behalf of your organization. That requires maturity across technology, governance, and operations. It's not something you rush.
Sam, thank you for breaking all of this down. For our listeners who want to dive deeper into building compliant, production-grade agentic AI systems, especially in a European context, the full article is on our website at etherlink.ai. It covers orchestration patterns, compliance frameworks, and real-world architecture decisions in much more detail. This has been EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, with Sam. Thanks for tuning in.